David and Goliath, we feel that pressure right now. We feel David's pressure. That's what we're trying to do right now, is be prepared for the situation. We're going to take our stones, our case, all the way to as far as it needs to be. We face a giant, but I believe with all my heart, we're going to be a giant slayer. At 6:30 in the morning, the hummingbirds wait for feed. Crows come and light right over here and wait for mama to come and feed them. When I moved here in August of 1983, there wasn't a lot of foliage here, and I grew up a country kid. I had to have flowers. I had to have a little picket fence garden and that type of thing. And so over the years, I've created a little, I call it my little haven back here. I build a lot of craft stuff, especially I love bird houses, because as you can hear, birds are just everywhere. That's nature, the sound, it's amazing. In January, no preliminaries, no word whatsoever. I went to my mailbox one day and there's the letter. Requester is looking to change 700 acres, all the plot and parcels were identified, from A1 agricultural to I1 light industrial. That started it.
I moved down here in 1962.
I've been in this home here since 1979. That's right at 45 years.
I can't recall the exact year that we moved down here, but I can remember I was in the first grade.
The reason I moved back was because it's such a quiet area. It's peaceful. Mainly all you hear is birds, you know, and pretty much that's it.
It's a nice neighborhood. People love each other like family.
That's what it's all about. That's the reason I'm willing to stand and fight against the destruction of this nature right here.
If we don't look out for one another and come together and stand where we're standing, then we're doomed. It's very important to us that our concerns be addressed now.
This summer is not a change that we're ready for. You know, it's not what we worked all these years for, we planned all these years for.
Sitting right here, right behind me, within 35 feet of my property, you know what there would be? 5 buildings, 40 feet high, 2,500 feet long by 100 feet wide, or some dimensions, to equate to 250,000 square feet per building. 5 of them right there. You have to be in this position to really understand what the implications of total destruction of 700 acres of property. You know what a data center of this type? It's called a hyperscale data center.
This is a one-of-a-kind when it comes to Alabama developments. There's never been a proposed data center development in Alabama anywhere near this scale, and there are very few data center developments in the country that are at this scale. There is a demand for these kind of large facilities that can house the physical hardware that's needed to power these AI products. AI is kind of a catch-all term that refers to all of these different tech products that can be generative and create new text or images based on the information that the model's been trained on.
This is nature's way, and we're about to totally obstruct this with a hardscape building complex.
Up until now, we hadn't been serviced by our city government. There's no gas line, there's no sewer line. That tells you how much the city or the county care about us.
We don't have a vote in the zoning process. We don't have a vote in the decision to put it there. You have to go to Bessemer mayor and city attorney and you show them the facts. Now, the problem is, will they listen?
At the zoning meeting in Bessemer, you didn't have a single resident who spoke in favor of the project. Every single resident who spoke was opposed to the project.
This is a vampire that will drain all of our natural resources and is something that is unwanted and should not be allowed to be anywhere among civilized and decent people.
And we should not be in the middle of all this with the residents on three sides.
This is wrong. There are industrial parks in this city already set up for this madness. It's wasting our time and taxpayer dollar, and it doesn't make sense, and it's already in court.
Please don't be lazy. Don't neglect your responsibility to the citizens of this community.
The only people who spoke in favor of the project were the developer.
So I've got Brad Caber with me here from Logistics Land Investments.
And the lawyer for the developer.
As you stated, Mr. Chair, we're seeking to rezone 7 parcels of land from A1 to I1 for a state-of-the-art data center. This is property located off Rock Mountain Road and right at the intersection of 2059 and 459. This type of development is something that city planners dream.
The project would provide significant tax and financial benefit to the city, as you'll see in the handout.
These data center developments are promising thousands of jobs or hundreds of jobs long term.
With about 330 permanent jobs here on this campus. And they're good paying tech jobs.
And in the end, you get maybe a few hundred jobs that aren't as well paying as the company said they would be.
We've done a preliminary waters of the United States delineation, which says we're going to identify every stream and wetland on this property.
Oh, it's little, this is called Little Blue Creek, but you'll see this meanders. Look at it, goes that way, then it goes that way.
That site plan, by the way, shows zero impact to all the streams on this site.
Not believable. It's just not believable. It's going to nuke Little Blue Creek, and there's going to be downstream runoff. There's going to be the effects of the water draw. I'm a professor of ecology and evolutionary biology. I'm also the Bingham Oceanographic Curator of Vertebrates at the Peabody Museum, Yale University. The Birmingham darter is one of 6 species in a group of closely related species that are all distributed in the Upper Black Warrior system. We made the discovery that the Birmingham darter specifically was distinct, I would guess, about 2020, 2021, and we published the first paper where we treated it as an undescribed species in 2023, and then we published the description, so it gave it a formal taxonomic name. That came out in April of 2025.
Because this is a newly identified species, it hasn't had the ability to go through the process of becoming an endangered species under the Endangered Species Act. So it lacks the legal protections typically endangered species would have had it gone through the listing process.
Unlike many things in our lives, something, once it's lost, it never comes back. It never comes back.
Thank you very much.
The Commanding Commission basically just pushed us aside and made the decision, 6-1 approval to move it forward to the City Council.
This issue has already gone before the Planning and Zoning Commission in Bessemer and is now going through the process of seeking approval through the Bessemer City Council.
Setting a hearing for today's date, July 15th, 2025 at 9:00 a.m. to approve the rezoning of the property from A1 agriculture to I1 light industrial.
We've heard, again, pretty universally from residents that they're opposed to this project.
This project may benefit outside corporation, but it will come at the direct expense of the families who live here.
There is no way that this facility and the resources that it will use will not increase the utility rates of the residents of Alabama. This will just create more poverty conditions within our community, which is already resource confined.
When this AI bubble bursts, what are we going to do with this giant data center?
Who in here right now would love to have this in your backyard? This is a priceless piece of property. Do not destroy it.
Make sure you do everything within your power to help those that may not be able to help themselves.
This will be considered at the next meeting. It will not be voted on today.
In a July 15th meeting, they postponed a final vote on this. But from residents, what we've heard is concerns around the environmental impacts, around electricity usage, around water usage.
What will this do to my water?
Data centers require cooling. They can either be air cooled or water cooled. Most data centers prefer water cooling, and that can use an exorbitant amount of water depending on the type of system that's used. Through public records requests, we've been able to get some water estimates for how much the consumption of this facility will be. The developers themselves reached out to a local water authority and said they expected around 2 million gallons per day of usage. That estimate would amount to approximately the same usage as about 6,700 households in Bessemer, which is approximately 2/3 of the population. That estimate only accounts for the direct usage by the facility itself, and so there would also be additional indirect usage, for example, that comes from the power consumption of the facility. It's not just a question of infrastructure of can we get the water there. There's the question of where is it going to come from and how long is the water going to last?
If they get their drinking water from the Warrior River Water Authority, then it will be coming out of the Black Warrior River. The river is big, but the Warrior River Water Authority is a small utility. I'm not sure if they have the capacity to supply all the water they're going to need there. If they choose to use groundwater, then that can have a very localized impact on the streams in the immediate area of the facility.
Alabama is a state that doesn't have a water plan, and what we mean by water plan is just a strategy for how we're going to sustain our water supplies into the future, and also leave enough water in our water systems, both our rivers and streams and our aquifers, to be able to sustain those uses and to sustain the environment and its needs. Most people are familiar with the Clean Water Act, which is what governs water quality, and that's a big overarching federal law. We don't have an overarching federal law for water quantity and water use and allocation.
What that effectively means is any industry in Alabama has the right under Alabama law to stick a straw in the ground and suck out as much water as they want.
Black Warrior River is a really important river system in the center of Alabama. It's at the heart of water supply for the greater Birmingham area and region. It's one of the workhorses other than the Cahaba River in terms of supplying all the water that we use.
We're not running out of water. We have a lot of water, but that doesn't mean we don't need to manage it and protect it and have a plan for what to do when we do have times of shortage.
There are questions not just about water usage, but about water discharge and where that water will go.
Soil has to be porous and allow absorption of water. We're going to change that from a very porous environment to a city concept of asphalt and hardscape and all that. What happens when water hits hardscape? It runs and goes to the lowest elevation.
And we're in a low area.
Whenever it rains, we get a flood condition, and it affects our houses, our homes. The water flows in this. It flows right here down to the creek. From this angle, right down through here. This is the low spot where it travels and hit the creek. I seen about 6 feet in my backyard.
Right, and like it would be up to the second step from the top on my deck. My generator was over there. It was underwater. All that stuff was underwater.
I had a gas tank out here in the backyard. Yeah. It floated. We can't stand no more water.
Right.
We can't stand no more. That's why they put that pipe there up under that street, that it will carry the water to the creek. That's why it's headed that way, because the creek back there. From the creek to the house, it's about 500 feet.
This is the other big thing that's attractive about this property. And if you look here, what do you see? What's the primary thing that we are seeing here? Power. Power. This is one of 3 meadows that flow through here. You have these power line sources that are navigating through the property.
When it comes to energy consumption, there's an estimate that at full build out, this project would use about 1,200 megawatts of energy. And these are facilities that typically run 24/7. To give you a sense of scale, that's more than 10 times the amount of energy used by all of the residences in Birmingham. And that's more than 90 times the amount of energy used by all of the residences in Bessemer.
Power source will be diminished. It will grow exponentially, and the resident and consumer will pay for that.
Every time we use AI, there is a physical, real-world cost to that. Just because you can't see smoke coming from a factory doesn't mean that it's not causing pollution. When you're talking about this amount of energy that's being used, you have to think about the greenhouse gases that are going to be emitted producing the energy that's necessary to continue their use. So in Alabama, for example, most of our energy comes from burning of coal and other fossil fuels.
Miller Steam Plant is behind us. It's a behemoth coal-burning power plant built by Alabama Power.
It produces more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire country of Colombia annually. One facility.
And it is the #1 CO2 emitting power plant for 9 years in a row now in the entire country.
Every digital product has a physical footprint somewhere, and thinking about every day what real world implications are there from the digital choices that I'm making is going to be a really important question. When I Google and get an AI result, how many bottles of water is that using? How much energy is that using? And what are the sources of that energy? What are the sources of that water? When it comes to water consumption and energy consumption, where they're going to get these natural resources to run this project, we don't know all of those answers. And the folks who do have signed these non-disclosure agreements that in some cases may prevent them from telling us the answers.
That's kind of what our concerns are. Why is no one willing to listen to the facts?
They don't care how we live, you know, and I think that's one of the problems. Nobody don't care about the next person.
If you don't believe that can be a change in this situation, this center, we're in bad shape for real. We're already in bad enough shape. But we got to believe that in the Almighty that it can be preventable. And that I believe.
That's it. That's where we are. We're going to fight. We're going to fight. We got some people with some heart. We really do.
Well, we don't have a neighborhood watch. We just got some neighbors that watch.
We don't talk about it.
Right.